is my number one tool in helping people to untangle from heartbreak and things is just the realization that that muscle that you worked, that all of those feelings that you had, all of that, sensual expression, all of that still belongs to you. It hurts like hell to release somebody, but all of that yumminess does not go with them. That's yours. So what Cassie said was super important to me.
It's such a hard thing to understand in the beginning. It's so difficult when somebody comes into your life and they bring that feeling, and then, then they leave or you break up, and it's like that feeling goes, right? Or it seems so connected, and then connecting the fact that they're just a face for a feeling you needed to experience or you wanted to experience is such a revelation. It's such a revelation.
I think that's pervasive too, right? Is the idea, I mean, and I don't know if it's one of these weird dualities of being a human being or as part of development, that it's like that the instance of that person and colliding into them in the moving through life is the catalyst for you to experience these emotions, right? What everything we've described and more, right? That it's, and I think that is sort of the nature of it. And I think because we're all on the topic of consciousness, and to what Gina said, it's about getting that feeling yourself. But I think it's easy to be an armchair quarterback and say, get that feeling yourself. It's great. That way you'll never be attached to anyone. And it's like, wait a minute, that in itself is part of the life process. And I know I can personally speak that it's very incremental. Like it's in slow little tiny increments, and I can, depending also my circumstances in life. So I was actually at my first post-pandemic house party. It was my closest friend's birthday, and also because she's obsessed with Halloween, it was also a Halloween birthday party. And so I met this girl there. So it's the first time I've met a girl like in a social setting in now years. And she was just absolutely stunning. And we had this great conversation. And she was with two other very attractive, it was like the models' corner. So all the attractive girls were huddled together just as they are in the wild. And what was fascinating was I instantly connected with her and disqualified the other two girls for not based on attractiveness, but based on the conversation and the interest. And we continued it. But the takeaway that was fascinating is, so we have a date this week, which is a few weeks later but we've been, sort of texting back and forth, and I'm enjoying the text. I love the non-bullshit stuff. I all these little things I'm enjoying. Like, she actually writes an address in the text, like, even though it's going to me, she uses my name. I like that. I'm old fashioned. I like that stuff. She, if she takes a little while to reply to a text, she's aware of that in the text. Like, I've been, I haven't been able, and I hope you can accept, like, just basic sort of stuff. But what's interesting to me about all of it is, like, I'm looking forward to meeting with her and seeing her post party. I'm going to ask her to wear the same costume because it was like very revealing. Okay, I was like, yeah, can you wear the bodysuit and like the 6-inch high heels and like you look like a superhero? But what was fascinating to me is, I have to say, I feel completely unattached. I would love to get to know this woman. She's very interesting. We've had great conversations. I also just like the tone. She's a very sweet tone, and that's very attractive to me. And I like where the conversation's been going, and it's been light, and it's been fun and funny and playful. Gina, playful. And but I have to tell you is, like, I'm so unattached. Like, it'll be great. It'll also be great regardless. And just something in my own development that I heard, I was listening, I can't remember if it was a Clubhouse room, but someone was quoting it somewhere, which is, I think it's a Ram Dass quote. And I terrible at quoting it exactly, but the feeling is I don't care, but that's not correct, because I don't not care. And it's like, but the feeling is like that. And the Ram Dass line is, and I love it, is I don't mind. And then I just, because I have to tweak everything, I added a comma, I don't mind. And I was like, that's exactly it. Like I'm a language guy, so I love like playing with that stuff. And it's a very big gap between I don't care and I don't mind. I do care, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't want to see her again. But how it plays out, I don't mind. If it plays out, I'm just really fine about it. And I have to tell you, like, that unattachment is I'll smoke that every day of the week. Like, I love that stuff.
I love the comment you just said.
Give it a couple of months, Ron.
Well, I'm sure, like, I'm just waiting for the wrecking ball to fly right through here and knock me over. But in this moment, unattached.
Yeah, but I do want to add something, Ron, because I always said that to MJ. For me, dating, to be part of dating for more than since the age of 14 of dating, for me, when I start dating, the older I get, for me, I call dating an experience. I always say the person I meet, it might be a lesson I need to learn in life, something I need to discover about myself, but I do not give myself that pressure of saying that, oh, he's going to be the love of my life. I hope the scenario that women are programmed since the age of 4, reading Walt Disney and all this princess story. But I go with that. That's going to be an experience. What will be the experience I will learn? I will learn something new about myself, something that I will accept, that I will love, and I will see about it. So I always go with that care. And I like the fact that you say, I don't mind, but I like also to add is like, it's an experience from an answer I don't know yet of life, but I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to grow from that situation. So that's what.
So a couple of things drop in there. One is, Ron, what it sounds like you're doing, which is a wise move, is a high involvement below attachment, so you can actually explore and dance. But a couple of things you said one, and these are just totally off the track of what we're talking about, but what you said at the beginning about how you saw this one woman and disqualified the other two, that's pure masculinity, because masculinity is a hunter. We're picking the best, quote, target. but that's what we do.
I guess the gun shop is over there.
But innately, though, we're always looking for whatever the ideal thing is. If it's the best car or the best steak in the freezer section, whatever it is. But with the women, we tend to do that automatically. We scan the room for the one that looks most appealing, whatever that is. Maybe the most beautiful or most statuesque or the most whatever that is. It's just the ones most appealing to us. So it's a very subjective experience. But then what you said, Cassie, was the feminine. Is you're enjoying the journey, you're enjoying exploring, enjoying that moment. Now we just to add that piece, we do carry both inside of us, but we reside towards one end or the other end of the spectrum. And so what I was hearing was just a beautiful illustration of both parts of the conversation.
Wow.
That was kind of cool. So I love that piece.
Yeah.
But I want to speak to the other piece about the love piece. There was something that really was resonating for me earlier. If I remember what it was. That's the other problem about masculine. That's the thing about masculine, we say singular, oh, this is the piece. Oftentimes when we go through a breakup, we go through something like grief. And one of my favorite quotes, which comes from a Marvel show, by the way, which is, what is grief except love persevering?
Yeah.
The amount of grief is corresponding to the amount of love you had.
Huh.
And I've gone through that recently because my dad passed away a few weeks ago and we had a funeral last week. And he was 95. He wasn't surprised. So I didn't feel a lot of grief. Nothing like I did when my mum passed away. That was like 9 years ago. And so experiencing grief is like where the love is. So when you lose somebody, if you have a breakup or whatever that is, that love may seem that it's been removed, but what's happening is the grief's taking its place. And grief is really the indication of how much love has been inside that you feel has been taken away. But the deception is we think it's been taken away. But the thing is, what's happened is the person moved away. The love inside just got covered up by the grief.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's an interesting dance to have.
I love that. And the thing is, like, for having lost my mom when I was really young, you realize after, as the year goes by and the grief kind of subsides, the love comes back and you get to see how much love there was, and you actually get to live within that love, which kind of like gives you a boost, which is kind of like a weird thing, because when the grief happens, it's kind of like everything's crazy. You're sad, you actually become more closed, at least for me, more closed in, like you're not letting anything in. And as like you're not as sad anymore and you're kind of like more settled, like right now I'm at the stage, it's been years, like she died in 2003. Yeah. So it's just now that I'm kind of like enjoying all the gifts that I'm rediscovering that she gave. And because of the fact that I'm very spiritual, almost all the gifts that she keeps giving me through events that are happening randomly. I was just telling one to Cassie recently as well. So it's one of these things where, yeah, the love is always there, and it's probably even bigger because there's no bound to it.
Yeah,
So,
it's like the clouds. It's like, sorry, it's like the cloud starts to disappear. You know, it's like the cloud of grief.
Yeah.
And then little by little, it starts to dissipate, and you get back to what was originally there. You know, I did want to say one other kind of dichotomy that I heard in Ron's thing was that you have to detach to attach.
Ooh.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. That's deep.
That goes right on the card, Flora. That goes right on the business card.
It is a good slogan.
Yeah, it's a really good slogan.
Yeah,
and on the
it's
same
good.
polarity thing, it's you have to feel the pain and grief in order to feel more joy and love. I see this so much in sexuality. People think I'm out of love, and I say, no, your feelings are just incredibly numbed down. I don't say that, but
The truth.
like you're ridiculously numbed out, and so your numbing, it comes through your body. And so what Flora talked about is exactly it on all, the polarity is coming all around this grid of all of us, right? And the grief has to be felt, and we feel it at exactly the time that we're meant to feel it, right? Like when I had this very intense breakup, I started to feel this a lot of sadness around my marriage, which ended years ago. But the reason is because I wasn't ready then. I would have been overwhelming, debilitating pain to have felt that all then, right? So the residual, like the metabolic waste or something, when you have a wound and it comes up and you think, oh, that's where I also fell off my skateboard when I was 9 or something, like with what Ron was saying, that we become that younger child. We also feel deeper into, and I always remind people and myself that this doesn't mean that this is a step backwards. It doesn't mean you haven't healed. It 100% means you are healing, and recognize it as, now I'm strong enough. Now I'm ready. Now I can squeeze more out. And on the release comes the next breath of this euphoria or joy, or at least peace, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important what Flora said, that you have to detach to attach.
And I just want to say what you said, Gina. It is true, because when you think about a breakup process, and I remember it was one of my therapists, and I'm a stubborn person, and I have my ego, something I learned how to let go of your self-ego. That ego's like, why did you put yourself in that situation? Why you're dealing with that? You have that anger when you grieve a breakup. And I remember my therapist told me something. She told me, hey, I cannot give you the secret of dealing with a breakup. It's like, we all be rich. I'll be a multimillionaire. Psychology will not exist. We all will have done that. I don't have a magic pill.
Yeah.
And what you make me think is it is true. You go to different phase of emotion, because you think about that love that you lose, and you have that freedom. I now understand that love is always a part of me, because I share that love came from me. I give love, so it's a part of who I am. But it's the grieving period is to deal with the emotion, and also is to, once you deal with all this emotion, is the peace you have. And I'm just going to go what Flora said, you get detached. You get detached of that story. And once you get this shot of that storyline that you're creating, like that storyline, you grieve and you're detached, you're ready to go to get attached to someone. So that's why I wanted to do the connection, that I'm enjoying that conversation, but it was really cool.
And I want to add something else too. Mary, when you're talking about the fact that when you grieve, how is it again? The amount of grief that you have is proportional to the amount of love that you're able to give. So what I realized to my grief of losing my mom is like my capacity for loving has expanded. So I didn't know I could love as much to the depth of the grief that I felt throughout all these years. And now I feel like I have so much more love to give than I was able to before. So when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, I never realized that, but maybe that's the purpose of that.
I remember hearing Barbara DeAngelis, who was John Gray's ex-wife, by the way. She did Making Love Work back in the 80s, I think, in LA. she did a talk once, and she talks about how when we go through heartbreak or upset, like in a relationship falls apart, the temptation is to numb it out and move on, especially for men. Well, for women too, but like we sort of tough it out because we don't have emotions. We're fine. I'm fine. But what we do is that it's like imagining that our love is this ocean of water, and when we numb it out, we're putting ice on top of the ocean. So what happens is, as we're adding ice to that ocean, we're covering up more and more of what's available. So when we meet somebody else, we can only love them to the amount of water that's exposed. The more ice there is, the less love is available to give, like you're talking about with grief. So what happens is we get so numbed out over many, many breakups that we haven't got this much love to give to somebody. And it's the best we can do because everything's numbed. And it's like what Gina was saying, the same thing. It's like that love is in there. You just can't get to it because all the ice is in the way. So until you like defrost it or you melt it or you basically come back to yourself, like healing the wounds, making peace with yourself, you're no longer a numb. You can fully express all your love again. Because it's not like you had more love than you started with. Just that now you've got all your love is available because it's not hidden away or occupied by the wounds and the baggage and the upsets and everything else. It's like all of it's available. And that's the gift.
I think that's the nature of grief, though, is it's so pervasive, and it's actually very primal too. It's something that human beings, like literally from the point of us becoming human beings, and arguably before, have always experienced and felt. And it is a raw pain. It's a pain that is pervasive. We feel it physically, emotionally, in our wherever your digestive system. It's like everywhere you turn, the world has become darker or dimmer. And I do agree, with what Gina and what MJ are saying, in the sense that it's about capacity, and that yes, there's a feeling that someone has poisoned the lake that we drank from and that we bathed in, and now we can't go back there. And Barry, what you've suggested is really a long-term strategy. And what it is, it's actually not a strategy about grief. It's a strategy of pain relief. People numb because if you've ever worked with anyone, and I've worked with people both emotionally and physically as a hypnotist, when you have chronic pain, it's brutal. And we're talking about emotional chronic pain. And basically the strategy is, I'm just fucking done. I don't want to experience it anymore. And especially when it's like, that's the blind side for many people of losing love. As as Flora was joking, like, wait for when I said that wrecking ball is just going to swing in. And, by the way, it's literally like, hey, I don't know what happened. My car stalled on the train tracks, and next thing you know, a train hit me. That's the feeling. I mean, there's layers to it. There's a certain unintentional catastrophization, like, why did this happen to me? I can't believe this happened. Or why is this so brutal? Or when can I even get a vacation from this pain? I think that for people, it's like, I get it, I have to grieve, but can I take 5 minutes just to not feel like I just woke up and I already feel like shit? Like, can I give myself, and I mean, that was one of my therapeutic strategies for working with people, is when they were in that deep and that hard, I was like, you know what, you can take a vacation from, I get it. We're not trying to, this is not about avoiding your pain or avoiding your suffering. And again, I love Flora's poetic description of, like, the mist or the fog or the clouds start to dissipate, and then you see clearly. And I know for many people, and I would put myself in that category, is like, is there a fucking fast forward button for that? And there literally isn't. The only way to face it is to literally face it. And I also accept that when you're overwhelmed with pain, that the strongest of us isn't capable. What it is living your life, continuing forward. It's almost like grief has a lot of ties to depression, and it's like wearing a suit, but the suit is triple your weight, and so everything is harder. On the flip side, to what MJ is saying, and it's a very tantric belief, is that, Tantra, as I've studied it, is one of the aspects of it is expanding your capacity for pleasure, but it's actually expanding your capacity for feeling in general. And grief is part of that. So anyway,
it's about integrating, right? So the tantric philosophy is about integration, right? So you take that grief and you don't drink it away, you don't chop it away. You don't, it's you're taking that and you find the piece in you that already knows that you can survive this. And grief is a stress cycle. And we are not taught in Western culture to move through stress cycles, right? So we need to, in a lot of other cultures and ancient cultures, and when there's grieving to be done, you do it in circle, and there's typically one leader, one, you know, whatever they want to call it, a shaman, a priestess, something like this, the chief leader, whatever, the healer. And that person's job is to watch the person in grief as they tell the story. And then when it gets to be too overwhelming, when it gets to be, you can see the person like either starting to break down, then everybody in the circle starts to do either primal yells or dancing, or they like throw shit into the fire. They use their body to move that grief up and out. That person gets a moment to feel in community, right? So they're getting witnessed. And then they're using their body to move this grief through all the way through the stress cycle. And we're just not taught to move through that stress cycle, right? And then at the end, after getting witnessed and after using your body, to celebrate. And that seems really counterintuitive to celebrate grief, right? To celebrate a death or a loss or a breakup, or that something didn't turn out the way we so desperately wanted it to. But just to celebrate either the circle or the circumstances or your ability to get in it or to get out of it, just tells your brain, right? Like, now we're safe. And you can't really move forward until your brain is not in lockdown, right? Otherwise you could stay in that cycle. So I think there's so much wisdom here and so much knowledge that I really want to celebrate all of us for putting this out, right? Like, I mean, it's really true that somebody will watch this and think, it didn't occur to me, like something that Cassie said, like, yes, exactly me. Right. So MJ, it's just beautiful. Like, I just want to stop and celebrate us around the fire.
And I see it's 3 o'clock. So
she's like, with that, you're all cut off. We're done.
No, you're not cut off.
Let's leave on a low note.
No, but we'll have to do that again.
Yeah,
that was cool. That went into, and we can even go deeper. I'm so grateful, and that's why I wanted to put that, because I feel like more people need to see that, and I want to share that with more people. So much good that's coming out of this that I like. If you guys are into it, we haven't talked about it, but it's just coming to me right now. If you guys want to do that more often, because we had tons of questions, we're like, no, this one is good because we expanded.
And to be honest, it's so funny because all the questions we wanted to ask that we didn't get a chance, you guys kind of figure out and answering by your answer. So I found it that's why I called the beautiful life of circle and synergy of energy that bring all us together. So
wow, that was awesome. I think before we go, it'd be good to just kind of have like a where people can find you type of thing, and then hopefully, I don't know, I'm the idea person, and I just try things out, and I'm like, can we do this once a month or once a quarter? I don't know.
But I think we could do it once a month, and I think that could be curious to see. People could see what we do with Slow Love, because it's thinking the same thing that we ask a bunch of strangers, asking them question, and I find it is a good experience for having expert, because sometimes when you have expert, you're like, hey, my feeling, the way I feel right now makes sense to me, and we're not a society that share vulnerability. For me, it's very important to be. The true love that you have with yourself is when you share vulnerability. That's the moment that you're more honest with yourself. So I think that's a good experience. If you guys could give us a sentence, let us our YouTubers know where to find you, your website, and
anything, any course you're selling, or whatever you want to promote, and then we'll have that one by one and go with there. Because we appreciate you for taking the time to do this. This was really cool. So
I don't know who's in order. Is it me first?
Yeah, go ahead, Gina. I will pick up people. Go ahead, Gina.
Yeah, so my website is www.ginacatherine.love, and it's Catherine with a C. Also, Gina_Catherine with a C coaching on Instagram. You can find me on Clubhouse at Gina Catherine. There's a theme here. Just loved connecting with everybody, I'm going to watch this myself on YouTube. And so it's just thank you for spending this hour with me.
Thank you for coming. And Flora, let's go with the order of my computer.
I'm trying to find out who I am on Clubhouse. I don't even know if I'm Flora Ong on Clubhouse or
I think you are. I think you are.
Flora Ong.
Yeah.
I'll check.
Thank you. Um, and I am at redo.love on Instagram, and my website is www.redo.love as well. So you can find me there, and I do have a program that I run called Finding the One, and guess who's the one, guys? You are.
Hello. And you are at redo.love on
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Oh, redo.love almost everywhere. So yeah, that's where you can find me. And thanks, guys. This was awesome, and I hope that we do it once a month.
Sure.
Thank you for coming. And go ahead, Ron. You're next.
So I have a few irons in the fire right now, but the best way to reach me is on Clubhouse. I think it's just under, actually, I think it's at The Wrong Way, The Ron G Way on Clubhouse. And I also do have a YouTube channel. It is general meditation, 15 minutes of just images and music to chill you out. Not guided meditation, but free-flowing meditation. I have both a TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube channel. They're all called Ultimate Uplift. So just look for Ultimate Uplift and tune in. There's a different theme in each one, but it's all images and music. And that's what I've got for right now. Thank you. And thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you for coming. And Barry, go ahead, Barry.
Okay. So as my name is Barry Selby, I got my website is that. All my social media is Barry Selby, except on Clubhouse, except on Instagram because my account got hacked. So now I'm the real Barry Selby on Instagram. So YouTube is Barry Selby. And I have, just in case Spin wants to peruse my videos, I've got over 1,200 videos on there now. About just over 1,000 are called Messages from the Masculine Inspired the Feminine Heart. I've got one on cracking codependency code. I've got my dating web show with a friend of mine. I've got about 60 of those up there now. So let's talk about dating. So, but some stuff on YouTube, which is free to watch. My website again is barryselby.com, so you can check me out there. And I had something offering, but it's on hold right now, so I'm not offering anything particular right now. But also I want to say thank you both of you ladies for inviting us into this conversation. I should also say when I started this hour, I just taken some supplements that flushed me out completely, so it's bright red. It looked like on screen. Now it's settled down again. That wasn't embarrassment. That was just like the supplements I take. I've got to find out which one it is because suddenly I get this like hot flush. I'm like, I'm a guy. I shouldn't have that. So
you look good, Barry.
Well, thank you. Pinker than usual. So thanks for having me. Thanks for this talk. It's been fun.
And thank you for coming. So
Absolutely.
for MJ and I, we have an Instagram, YouTube, our Instagram, Slow Love Dating, and all our information will be below, and all our guest information will be below also. So if you're interested of connecting to one of those beautiful guests who join in a beautiful questions, you could click. And every Saturday morning at 11, we do intimate conversation with people with different subject. And this month is all about dating. Go ahead, MJ. Did I forgot something?
Oh, you got everything. Just again, thank you so much for allowing this beautiful space. I am sure it's going to help with everybody's experience and insight. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people, and we're looking forward to share that with everybody, and we'll share that with you guys as well. And yeah, enjoy a beautiful day. We're looking forward to do that again. If you have any suggestion or idea, I'm all into like co-creating, and this like fills my heart really. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Ron,
you.
can we see your shirt, Ron, before you go? Can we-
Yes, hang on. Let me see. I'll tilt down a bit.
Look at me. I'm like looking.
Love it.
Only got the ear, so it's like.
We hope you enjoyed this intimate conversation online with our expert. You will have all their information below. If you have any other expert that you would like to see join us for a future conversation like this, let us know. If you have any specific questions or topic that you would like us to cover, please let us know below, because there's a lot of very valuable information and essentially getting a mastermind of people that are experts in conscious relationship to basically work through different topics. So thank you again for watching, and we will see you next time.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.